Hey everybody, before we dive into today's show, I have a fun pop-up offer to share with you from Equilife. This is on our calming magnesium, the number one product to relax your nervous system, help you unwind at night, good for your digestion and bowels to keep you regular, as well as get that deep sleep you need overnight. Very simple to use. It is strawberry splash, a delicious flavor. You simply take 1 scoop mixed in warm water or as a tea a half hour or so before bed. It is absolutely delicious, and it essentially has no calories, and it is a delicious drink you can use, like I said, right before bed. That's going to be good for your regularity in your bowels in the morning, as well as enable you to recover and rejuvenate overnight. If you've never tried the product, I highly recommend it, and we're offering 15% off this week while supplies last. Head on over to stevencabral.com/shop for all the details.
Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here today, brand new episode of the Cabral Concept. Looking forward to bringing you the benefits of an Ayurvedic Kitchari Cleanse. If you've never heard about this before, this will be very different in terms of overall nutrition in a different way in order to bring the body back to equilibrium. Now, the great thing about this particular recipe is you can really eat it any time of the year that you want. You can incorporate it into a weekly dinner, a daily lunch, however you want to look at it. I'm going to share with you the traditional Ayurvedic Kitchari Cleanse recipe, a new take on it, as well as the one that I enjoy the most, and then exactly how to use it. So the first introduction to a Kitchari Cleanse for me was probably in like the mid-2000s. I had just started studying about Ayurvedic medicine, and I was reading their books of all of the different kind of Ayurvedic doctors that have come here to the United States, and they were writing books in English, which luckily for me, I was able to then read about all these amazing different herbs and methodologies, and then Panchakarma. And I said, okay, before I experience a Panchakarma, why don't I do a Kitchari-based cleanse? And so again, I was studying like Dr. David Svoboda back then, Dr. David Frowley. I knew of Dr. Douillard, some great practitioners. I hadn't yet met my mentor yet, Dr. Pete, but I was very, very familiar with them. Of course, Dr. Vasant Lad, who then again taught my mentor, and then I learned directly from her. So what I did was I tried an Ayurvedic Kitchari Cleanse. Again, this is going way back, maybe like 2006. Let's say somewhere around 2006, 2007 at the very, very latest, somewhere right around there. And I did not have great results with it. I felt lightheaded. I felt nauseous. I didn't have the best experience. I later learned why that was, and I want to then share with you now how your experience can be much, much better and why it's still being used to this day. Again, 6,000 plus years later, there's a lot of science behind it now that we know of as well. So for example, one of the cornerstones of an Ayurvedic Kitchari Cleanse is split mung beans, M-U-N-G, also called dal, D-A-L. I'll talk about the whole recipe in just a moment. But one of the reasons why this particular legume is, and it's a mung bean, so describe it however you want, is the cornerstone, is because, again, now science is showing this. You can look up scientific benefits of mung beans. I'm happy to share some of them with you. You know what I'll do is I'm going to link up with you the traditional recipe as well as my favorite recipe, some of the spices that you can add so you can kind of taste it and flavor it how you want. That helped me tremendously, as well as research. So if you head on over to stevencabral.com/2463, you'll see the top 3 takeaways. You'll see the recipes, the scientific research links, etc. So, because I could go on and on about mung beans, I've probably done a whole podcast on it. If I haven't done a podcast on it, well, I'll do one in the future, but if I have, we'll link it up today as well. Again, after 2,463 podcasts, sometimes I don't even know what I've spoken on. So let me just give you a quick excerpt about mung beans, though, if you've never heard about them. So scientifically proven to help balance healthy levels of cholesterol. That means oxidized cholesterol helps to balance that. Improve good cholesterol, improve overall inflammation in the body. It can help with balancing gut bacteria. It can help remove pathogenic bacteria from the gut as well. So, I mean, again, who knew, right? It's like, well, Ayurveda knew, and they knew that this was one of the foods that, when mixed with basmati rice, or just rice in general, but I'll get to that, was a complete protein. It was very satiating. The fiber acted like a digestive sweep, drawing negative-based pathogens out of the body, as well as heavy metals. That was what I found exceptionally interesting. Very powerful antioxidants as well. I know there's two specific antioxidants. I'm going to see in my research if I can pull those up. Vitexin and isovitexin. Quite interesting because they're now being studied. Again, keep in mind, 6,000 years ago, none of the PubMed research that we have today. It was helping people with high blood pressure, helping people potentially with stroke, helping people even with elevated levels of blood sugar. You might say, this makes no sense that I would eat a rice-based dish with split mung beans, and I would actually get benefits in terms of inflammation, cholesterol, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. Remarkable, right? And again, if you look at the research, you'll see how it's boosting the immune system, which may help with cancer. So there we go, right? The top 4 causes of mortality, meaning early death. And it can be helped potentially with things like mung beans. So again, there's a lot to be learned still from Ayurvedic medicine. I continue to study it on a weekly basis. It's not the totality of my practice, but I'd love to be able to draw upon it for you as well. Okay, so again, high protein food, the mung beans, again, for a plant-based food, we're using this with basmati rice. And before I get to the whole recipe, let me share with you exactly who we use this for in clinical-based practice. So when I was overseas, I'm going to give you 2 takes on this because, again, I always give you the unbiased perspective. Okay, so I'm in, let's see. I did Ayurvedic internships in Sri Lanka, 2 places in Sri Lanka. I did Ayurvedic internships in Trivandrum. I did Ayurvedic internships in Mysore, Bangalore. I did an Ayurvedic internship in right outside of Dehradun in the north there. And then I was in a functional medicine Ayurvedic center in the Netherlands as well. So quite a bit. Now, I will tell you, and I'll be honest with you, we were using this Kitchari Cleanse, it was called, not for every meal, okay? So I'm going to give you 2 ways to use this. And here's who we used it for, so then I can always give you the unbiased perspective. People that were feeling really weak, worn out, burnt out, okay? We used it for them. Those that we needed to help eliminate toxins at a faster rate. Those people, believe it or not, actually looking to lose weight. And we did that with an intermittent fast and in some juices as well, green juices. We did it as part of a seasonal cleanse, okay? Did it as part of a yearly panchakama. We did it to nourish the body with good nutrients. We did it specifically for people that needed to calm the nervous system. It kind of goes back to that burned out, right? We did it to bring the body back, especially to a state of equilibrium. And that is mainly what it was used for. Okay, so in an Ayurvedic Kitchari Cleanse, though, and if you're being like traditional, exactly how it's meant to be followed, you do it for every meal of the day for a period of 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, or 21 days. So you can look at it as however long. If you want to do a traditional Ayurvedic Kitchari Cleanse, and I'm going to teach you how to do that, you would do it for 1, 3, 7, 10, 14, 21. Now, I will let you know that I've never used it with anyone for 21 days. I've never used it with anyone past 10 days. And it is not part of my functional medicine clinical practice today. It's not what I do. I think again, we have much to learn from Ayurveda. We've learned a lot from Ayurveda. It's the original and most in-depth, in my perspective, form of natural-based healing. But that doesn't mean we can't take from it and use it and use it as part of other state-of-the-art based protocols as well. So I love it. I enjoy it. I will still use Kitchari in my own way. But for people, though, who want to try an actual traditional Kitchari cleanse, I can't recommend enough. And I would do it for 1 to 3 days. That's my recommendation to you. So amazing. Again, like Monday, just think about it, like Monday through Wednesday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Very nourishing, very warm for the body. I'm doing this specifically right now because it's best done, in my opinion, from moving into the winter, like fall through spring. Not as great, in my opinion, during the summer. It's meant to be warm. It's meant to be nourishing, and it's great. Again, so it has, here's what it does. In Ayurveda, removes the ama, right? So the ama is the toxicity from the body, phlegm, mucus, etc. We're going to do that through spices. But it's also meant to improve agni. Agni is the fire inside of the body, the digestive fire that helps to break down foods in the future and digest them and absorb them. Now, when you come off of a Kitchari cleanse, typically what you would often do is you would only incorporate like one different meal for the day, then another, then another. You would ease out of it. Like this is a fast. It's looked at as basically a cleanse or a fast. So, all right, let me get right into the traditional recipe and then how we can use it for a 1 or 3 day fast for you. And again, you could do it for a full week. There's no doubt about it. I see no issues with that whatsoever. But again, you'll have to use it for how you feel best. I told you the very first time I tried one, I lasted about a day and a half. So again, everybody out there saying, oh, I failed the first time I tried a functional medicine detox, the EcoLife detox, the whatever. I totally get it. It typically just needs to be tweaked for you. Now, I was very, very sick. You have to understand, is like I was very unwell still at that point. And I mean, for my early 20s, I got pneumonia 5 out of 6 winters. It was ridiculous. My wife and I still joke about it to this day. Luckily, we can joke about it now. She would take me, we had very little income, and we would go to the walk-in clinic. And this is in the early 2000s. We were in Providence, Rhode Island still. And I would literally, they would listen to my lungs and my chest and they'd be like, it sounds like you have pneumonia. I'm like, this is impossible. It's impossible. I take care of myself. I do this and this. No, my immune system was still in a really bad spot. I had not healed yet. And anyway, when I tried it, it was still during that phase. And I was very weak and it wasn't digesting it very well and it was making me nauseous. Okay, I'll teach you what I did specifically. So the traditional recipe is this: white basmati rice. Now, I will let you know, again, I always talk about there are levels to this and there are layers of the onion. When I first heard about the Ayurvedic Kitchari Cleanse, keep in mind, it had to be before 2006. I'm just thinking this now because like I was literally when I moved to Boston. So this is like 2004, 2005. So I was deep into nutrition, right? Like I was literally a certified nutritional specialist. I was a strength and conditioning specialist. I was a certified personal trainer, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I thought I knew it all, right? Like I thought I knew it all. Again, early 20s is great. You think you know everything. Little did I know. So here's the thing though. White rice, I'm like, nobody eats white rice, shouldn't eat white rice. It's super high glycemic. And I would just give you and rattle off. There's no nutritional value. It's just a starch. And then after I took a deep breath, this is years later, I talked to my mentor and they're like, you have to understand the reason you use the white rice is because it's simple to digest. It is not going to affect the digestive system like a brown rice or something with an actual hull on the outside. And so this is meant for a time of rest. And back then I didn't even know what rest meant. Yes, get my sleep at night, but then it's go, go, go. And then again, I had much to learn. And so I learned that and realized that, when you combine it with the fiber and protein of mung beans, you don't get that glycemic spike to the same degree. And with the spices that I'm going to share with you. So it is traditional recipe, 1 cup of basmati rice to a half a cup of split mung beans. And they're the green mung beans, okay? So split green mung beans, often called dal. You can buy it in a can, but I don't recommend it. Okay, so I recommend the dry, typical split mung beans. They're already pre-split for you. They're typically shelled if you want to do the shelled. And then you're going to cook those. You're going to cook the white rice. I can give you recipes, but again, you can look these up too. Okay, so then after that, it is 2 teaspoons of ghee. And then it is your spices. And you will spice to taste or use a curry-based spice. Typically, you'll want to always add extra turmeric. usually a half a teaspoon extra, okay? And then one thing that I was missing in my recipe was sea salt, okay? Sea salt, for someone like me who had no cortisol output, low adrenal output, low blood pressure, when I ate this and the higher levels of potassium and magnesium and all that, I felt lightheaded and dizzy and nauseous and weak. Well, of course, I was dropping my blood pressure, right? I was missing the salt. So that sea salt instantly changed everything. How much salt should you have? To taste. Salt is always to taste, but you still have to get your potassium in, but that's what. So typically for me, it was a full teaspoon of salt. That's a lot, right? That's a good amount. You're gonna use a half a teaspoon to potentially a teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt, or you could use rock salt, which is traditional in Ayurveda as well. All right, what are the spices? So again, it's super simple, right? What are we talking about? 1 cup of white basmati rice, 1 cup of split mung bean dal, half to 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 2 teaspoons of ghee, goat, sheep, cow, if you want. Try to get that grass-fed. And then your spices, which I'm going to read you right now, and a little extra turmeric for that anti-inflammatory. And again, turmeric can lower blood sugar. I didn't know that back then. Well, my low blood sugar went even lower along with my blood pressure. That's why this was, again, didn't work for me in the beginning. I had to work with it. Okay, so now the traditional spices are black pepper, coriander, cumin, fennel seeds, ginger, black mustard seeds, and let's see what else. Turmeric, cardamom, clove, and a bay leaf. Okay, so I gave you the single serving essentially. However, this can be made, same exact recipe, just double, triple, etc. So the reason is that you make kitchari as a porridge. That means you're going to cook your rice exactly how you want it. You're going to add in your split mung beans, and you're going to add in all of your spices and your ghee. But you're going to let that sit on low, and you're going to make it basically into like a gruel, a mush almost. Now, again, I know I'm not making this sound super pleasant, but you want this essentially pre-digested. So easy for you to consume. The ghee, again, if you look into this, I've talked about this in other shows. I can't go through it deep today. For the liver, amazing term in terms of fuel for the body. I won't go through that today. Really, really well balanced. Okay, now, oftentimes you'll see online people adding onions, and that is not ever part of a kitchari-based cleanse. And the reason is that onions and garlic, you can add them. It makes it taste a lot more flavorful. So if you're okay with that, fine. But they never really did it traditionally because they're fermentable based foods, and like it goes well beyond mung beans, and it could cause cramping or gas or digestive distress. It's not considered a sattvic based food. And so again, like you're just looking at those foods as a little bit more, potentially heating and disruptive for the body. That's all. Again, but you can add them. Like if you're perfectly healthy and you just want to do this, then no problem at all doing that. All right. So what did I do? All right. So for me, I added the sea salt. That was a big one. I did less of the spices. So if it comes with a packet, if you're doing a kitchari cleanse, or you are out there making your own, I did less of the spices. Why? I had terrible histamine issues. I didn't understand that back then. So when I did a lot of these spices, guess what? My histamines went through the roof. So now what did I get? Lower blood pressure, right? And I got lower blood sugar and just this brain fog, and I would get headaches and nauseous. That's why. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And for me, it also just digested too quickly through me. And so I actually added, and I learned this. I mean, I'm trying to think right now, but I learned this specifically. I'm trying to think of exactly who I can give the credit to. It wasn't my mentor, but it was someone else that I studied with, and they recommend to cube up sweet potatoes. And so that's what I did. I actually cubed root vegetable sweet potatoes. I added that, and it was night and day. I felt satiated with the root vegetables. Remember, root vegetables are very grounding for the vata. So if you're burnt out, if you're feeling worn out, undernourished, low energy, low mood, low adrenals, all that, these root vegetables are absolutely fantastic. And so I would add in some just cubed sweet potatoes, and it made, again, all the difference. It was absolutely delicious. And when I added in that sea salt along with less of the spices, I did great. I really did. And not only that, like I did feel really strong on it. And so that was really nice. And so let me just share with you how you can use it. Typically, it's 3 meals per day. That is your breakfast, that is your lunch, and that is your dinner. Is it exciting? It all depends, right? That's the eye of the beholder. If you're enjoying the Ayurvedic spirit of it, if you're enjoying the fall season, winter season, doing a 1, 3, or 7-day Kitchari cleanse, yeah, it is enjoyable because you're part of something that dates back thousands of years and you're doing something healthy for your body as well. So there is that part to it. Now, again, I understand American-based palates and having to have things different at every meal and tantalize the mouth and the taste buds. I get it. It just may not be for you. Or, as I said, you might just try it for your lunch or your dinner for a week straight, or maybe even a couple days. Just something to think about. Now, keep in mind, for the kapha-based body type, we actually didn't do it at breakfast. So in Ayurvedic-based medicine, we would do typically 2 meals. It would be a late breakfast, and that would be some kitchari, or that would be their juices at that time. This is when I'm over in the clinics, so it's not necessarily what we do today. Like we have our functional medicine detox and we have our fat velocity system and all those things, but those are built off of Ayurveda. They really are. It's just combining functional medicine and integrative health, right? Which combines with Ayurvedic medicine. Or we would do the kitchari for their late breakfast, 10, 11 a.m. And then we would do an early dinner 4, 5 p.m. and those green juices in the middle. And then we'd have that 16-hour overnight fast. But the fast isn't like they do in the US, is like 8, 9 o'clock at night. No, it would go from 5 o'clock or so at night until, somewhere around, let's say, again, 10 in the morning, typically right around there. And you'd get your easily 16 hours out of that, right? If I do the math, what's that? 7 and 10, 17 hours. Yes, exactly. So that's what it would be, because people ate between 4 and 6 p.m. At the Ayurvedic-based clinics, and that was it. Then you were done. Okay, so that is that. And then for those feeling very weak and they don't do well with a lot of food because their digestive systems are so weak, totally get it, totally understand. You can actually do 1 cup of this, or if you need to, just whatever works for your digestive system, 5 times a day, every 3 hours. So you could have it at, let's say, 8 a.m. and this should be warm the whole time. It should always be re-warmed or just kept on low, and you're kind of having it over the few days. So that it can be at 8, it can be at like 11, 11:30. I mean, again, like where did our functional medicine detox come from? Well, again, like nourishing the body. So you have to understand this draws upon thousands of years of Ayurvedic wisdom, the Equal Life Functional Medicine Detox. Very different, but again, so many of the same principles. And so that's only what you feel like you can tolerate, because you never want to feel overly full or stuffed with that. That's not what this is about. So when it's the 1, 2, or 3 times a day that you're having it, for the average individual, it's whatever, like make yourself a nice bowl of it, eat very, very slowly, very, very mindfully. So it's a slow chew each, even if it's a little bit of a mush, right? You chew it, mix it with saliva, that salivary amylase. Enjoy it. Have it with a hot cup of ginger tea if you'd like as well, which is really nice for digestion. So that is it. That is the summary of how to do an Ayurvedic Kitchari-based cleanse. Again, this goes back thousands of years. If you've never tried it before, maybe just make it one night for lunch, one night for dinner, or one day for lunch for you or even the whole family. It's nice to be a part of these 1,000-plus-year-old traditions. Give it a shot, and if you do, let me know how it went. Take care, everybody. Couldn't thank you enough for all of your support of the show and our global health community. Our message really does mean the world to us, our team, our IHPs, and I know all of you as well. So again, thank you so much for your support of this show. What I wanted to share with you before you do go is that this week we are offering 15% off our Calming Magnesium drink. It is a crowd favorite, and that is because it helps with bowel regularity, but it also reduces a lot of that anxiety, nervousness you might be feeling, calms the nervous system, allows you to get a deep, rejuvenating night's sleep. It's very simple to use. You simply use 1 scoop of the delicious strawberry splash flavor in room temperature water or just some hot tea before bed. Mix it up 30 minutes or so before bed. Sip on it. It's a delicious, no sugar drink. You'll enjoy it, and your body will as well. If you want to try it out, take 15% off while supplies last by heading on over to StephenCabral.com/shop.